could have a motion to, that we only speak about things, or not to speak about the things that were into closed session under regarding Virginia Code 2.2-3711A8, 3 items under consultation with legal counsel, and Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3, 1 item under acquisition and disposition of publicly owned property.
So moved.
Second.
And may I have a roll call for that, please?
Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson, Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Aye.
Mr. Clontz?
Aye.
Mr. Reese?
Aye.
All right, and if everyone would stand, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Radcliffe, and if you'd like to remain standing after that for the invocation of Councilman East.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'd like to join us in prayer, please bow your head at this time. Thank you, Lord, each day for your guidance, your grace, and your wisdom. We ask that you continue to guide us in all matters, and for your many blessings, we thank you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay, modifications under public session.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. With the council's permission, I'd like to add ordinance 2021-29. That's an ordinance amending chapter 34, community development of the town of Pulaski, Virginia Code of Ordinances.
All right, I'd like to welcome the guests that are here and online tonight. I think we'll start with the presentations now, the promotions by Captain Mike Hudson.
We promoted 2 of our officers recently to corporal. First is Paula Linkus. She was recently promoted to corporal for the D squad. Corporal Linkus was previously assigned to the narcotics division with our department before she decided to try for the corporal promotion. She's been in law enforcement for 15 years and she's been with us for 4 years. So we're glad to have her put in take on the role as a supervisor with the department. Linkus right there. Also, Dustin Jones, a new officer with us. He was recently promoted to corporal with C shift. Corporal Jones was previously a senior patrol officer with A squad. He also elected to participate in the promotional process, and in doing so earned the rank of corporal. He's been with our department for 3 years. The department would like to thank both Corporal Linkus and Corporal Jones for accepting the responsibility of becoming a supervisor and appreciate their commitment to the department and our community. We look forward to their success.
Thank you both.
Would you all like to say anything?
I think we should have a speak.
We're fine, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
It's on, you get your picture?
Yes, I'll take some more out here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along, let's go to Terry Fitzwater Palmore for the Cullman County.
Did I put my mask?
No, if you're just speaking to the microphone so everybody can hear you at home, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have come here today to talk to you about the Cullerby Cameron coming up in April. It'll be April 2nd this year, or next year. And on the front, you'll see why it was created, what it does. I know there's questions about the making sure it was to make sure it was friendly to the fish, so that's easier to say it. The color contents are cornstarch, food grade, calciumate food, I'm nervous, calciumate food grade, sodium bicarbonate, food grade, and all the rest in there, and they all are friendly users. In the last 8 years, well, we missed one for COVID, but in the last 7 years, we've had babies there, we've had dogs there, lots of babies in strollers, and lots of people with dogs, so it is something to remember when you're talking about, all these are friendly used. In 2012, there were 16, you can look at the data there that talks about the things, and the dogs things. I knew we had a dog law, but that's all I could see. On the second page is a resolution, 213.06, where the town of Pulaski signed a resolution in Cameron's honor, and put it that every Saturday, that the first Saturday of every April will be Cameron Fitzwater Memorial Day, which will allow us to hold a fundraiser such as the Color Me Cameron 5K. And those are any of these great still here? Okay, this still here. Hi, Ben. Good. Ben's here, he knows. And then the last one, I can get to it. This actually is a picture of the map. The town manager had suggested we use the trail. We walk the trail. There's not a way for two people running and a baby in a stroller running, or people just generally walking, to use the trail down and use the trail up. The map you have here is the trail that we've used every year, except for the first year. The first year we had it going down, what was that road? Third Street. Coming around and going back down on 3rd Street, but they wanted to change it, and we were pleased with this route because it does still encompass Cameron, and everything about this run encompasses Cameron. The route in the town was where he served his paper out when he was 12. He wanted to do it when he was 7, but he did it when he was 12. And then the trail that he and his father ran every day, just about. So this is a little information. April's coming first, so this year it falls on April 2nd. So I didn't know if you wanted to do a new resolution or keep the, do you have to do a new resolution, or can you just keep the one that's already dissolved?
I think the one that's currently been voted on is still
Still good.
still in effect, I guess.
Does anybody have any questions?
So the picture you have here is the route that had been running years ago.
Yes. It's the one that starts in Jackson Park, goes to Randolph or Jefferson, down, and then cut down Thompson's, and then come back to Randolph, and then down Dora, and back on the trail.
Not Randolph,
Oh, not Randolph, Jefferson,
comes to Washington.
Washington.
And then down Door.
If you look on the bottom too, that, I took off the one picture. We also have a really beautiful picture of them, and I didn't put it on there, of the county police when they were doing the flags. They ran the whole run in front of everybody, holding the Virginia flag and the American flag. And it was really a great. Did you run last year?
No, I didn't. I haven't run in probably well, last year obviously was canceled, but
Yeah.
it's been 2 years.
That's we're at the 8th and not the 10th or 9th. Does anyone else have any questions about it? Okay,
I think the only thing, I'm sorry, were you?
go ahead, Ben.
I do have a comment. I've always felt like this was one of the positive events we had in the town. Not that all events are positive. This one really kind of had that sense of community about it. Where everybody lines up in front of this building. I don't know if you know what the head count was on the last, but I'm assuming it was significant, hundreds.
The 1 year before last, and before COVID, was 1,451. And the year before that, when it snowed and it was raining, and it was supposed to be really, really cold, we had like 420, because they didn't wanna bring the babies out in the cold weather. So, and it was freezing.
But it is certainly a great event for the town, and I think it's certainly something that I'm interested in continuing to support.
On the first year we ran it, first year we had it was only 459 people, and it's grown every year. So that says a lot. 'Cause there's people
1,400,
coming
that's
in.
pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm pleased, just hope we have it this month too, this year. Well, you've got the packet, if anyone has any more questions, just let me know, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Carrie, could I get one of your packets so you have an opportunity to have an extra one? It doesn't have to be tonight, I just need to have.
Wayne's got.
And you got more on?
He's got Indian.
Oh, he's got 3.
That's good. That's him.
You're
Some
working over
extras.
here, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to the public hearings, section. The first public hearing we'll have is resolution 2021-52, which is a VDOT grant fund for Randolph Avenue. Can I get the staff report for that first?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of council, as the resolution indicates, the town has received an appropriation from the Virginia Department of Transportation for the paving of Randolph Avenue. That is a special fund that is called State of Good Repair, which is what the SGR stands for in the resolution. I think I mentioned to the council previously that we had several requests. Unfortunately, because of the length of time that it took to get the request approved, by the time it was approved by VDOT, this was the only one of 4 that we could do the work within the specified funding. So we will be doing Randolph Avenue in the spring with these funds, and these are 100% VDOT funds, so there's no match required. So there is a requirement in the state code that anytime you have funding that exceeds 1% of your operating budget, you do have to hold a public hearing, and that amount for us this year is right at 1% is right at $90,000. So that's the reason for this particular public hearing and subsequent resolution. These funds, like all other funds that we've received as grants for the last year, are put in a segregated fund, so they cannot be spent for anything but the purpose for which the grant has been received.
How much of the avenue will be paved?
It'll go to the county line.
North
Mhm.
over to?
Yes.
Does council have any other questions at this point?
No, I move that we adopt resolution
We're-
2020. Oh, public hearing, sorry, Bernie. Thank you.
Alright, so at this time, I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that'd like to speak at this one?
Can I say one more thing real quick? When I met with the town, we were low on police officers and low on, I think it was 6 or 3 in the public works department. So I wanna make sure we have that taken care of too, if we can hire people. So, sorry, forgot to have that.
Does anyone want to speak on the public hearing? Okay, if not, I will close the public hearing. And then does council have any other comments or questions before we? If not,
Move to adopt resolution 2021-52 as written.
so,
I think you can say whatever you want.
may I have a roll call for that, please?
It was almost unanimous. Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson is not here. Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Aye.
Mr. Klontz?
Aye.
Mr. Reese?
Aye.
And then we'll move on to ordinance 2021-27, which is rezoning 421 North Washington Avenue from B2 to general business for R0 residential office, or RO residential office. Do we have a staff? Can I get a staff report from that?
Mr. Deal?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Case 2021 -09 is a request received from Shaw Development to rezone property located at 421 North Washington Avenue. That is tax parcels. There's 4 tax parcels. Tax parcels 072-51-24-11, and then the same parcel number ending in 13, 15, and 17 from B2 General Business to RO Residential Office. If the rezoning request is approved, this opens the ability for them to consider more flexibility. They have discussed potentially doing townhouses on the property, but have not yet gone through the finalization of any plans. Just at this point, been considering potential uses for the property. They've owned the property for probably 4 years now, and this rezoning would help get them have access to the residential provisions. The property is surrounded by residential office, so it is not a spot zoning request. It abuts residential office property. It is approximately 1.55 acres, and of course, regardless of what development they go through with on the property, whether it ends up being residential or if they end up having a commercial use, because the residential office does permit several commercial uses, they would have to meet all site development regulations in that effort. Mr. Kevin Connor is present as a representative from Shaw Development this evening if you guys had any questions specifically for him. And of course, if you have any questions specifically for me at this time, I'd be happy to answer them.
I just have one clarifying question.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm looking at, there's a bunch of pictures in here.
Yep.
Delineating the parcels.
Yep.
And the parcels appear to be 07251-2411, 13, 15, 17.
Yep.
So that's these 4 parcels here. But the drawing indicates that it's also adding 072-51-24-98. And I'm sorry to do that to you, but it's that little stub on the bottom. Like if you look at
Right. So if you look at the
right, but
zoning
the
map,
drawing here includes that little stub.
right? So the zoning map already has that stub
Oh, okay.
zoned
already-
as residential office.
Oh, okay.
So
But
they're
that's
only
clarification.
requesting to rezone the parcels as written, because the parcel ending in 9A is already
Already
zoned as
residential.
residential office. But
And
that is correct.
I-
They
that was a-
own that parcel.
They
as
already
well.
own that parcel.
Yep.
Okay. I think that was my major confusion.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the question.
But I don't have any other questions.
Council have any other questions for the public hearing?
Oh, real quick, sorry. Before the 5 p.m. Deadline today, we did receive one comment from the pastor of Trinity Lutheran Church, Terry Sternberg, and she said, on behalf of Trinity Lutheran Church, we wish to express our appreciation for the information we received on the rezoning request. Hearing taking place this evening, we do not have any objection to the request before you from Shaw Development to have the B2 parcel 421 North Washington Avenue rezoned as residential office. All right. Thank you. My apologies, Mr. Mayor.
That's a church just across the street.
Yes, sir.
Okay, with that, I will open the public hearing. And do we have any public comments? Brandy?
It's Cullis. We actually live right next door to this site. Our neighbors across the street in the big blue house right beside the church, they received this letter in the mail the week of Thanksgiving telling about all of the stuff that you have been talking about. And it was a certified letter that came. We, who live right next door to this lot, we didn't receive anything about this. I just learned about this last night. We already deal with riffraff back there, you know, and calling the police and having them come out to take care of things. We are just asking if you could table the vote, at least for tonight, vote next time, so we can just get some more information about what he's trying to do and all of that. I mean, we just found out about it. If somebody can show me that we actually received the letter, that'd be great, but.
I can show you where I sent a letter to all the surrounding property owners. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but I mean, I've gone through our mail and we have nothing. I wouldn't throw away a certified letter, and they received it, and obviously the church received it, but we
Right.
have nothing. But she did make me copies of hers, so I would have them.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
we would just like maybe if you could table that tonight, so we could have more time to research and have comments and about it. I mean, I literally just learned about this at 8 o'clock last night.
So is your concern that
What they're gonna develop there is really our concern. I mean, we already deal with the riffraff that's there now. What are they gonna build there? If they build townhouses, what is it? Is it gonna be HUD housing? Is it gonna, what's
There's-
gonna be there?
There's actually someone from Shaw Development that's here. Would you like to, okay, thank you, sir. If you wanna, you can.
Yeah, I didn't wanna stop your time.
No, yeah, I'm done. I just want you to table that.
Sure.
But if you can clarify, maybe that'd be great.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Kevin Connor representing Shaw Development. As you can recall, or may recall, the old building there, we've repurposed that to the ballpark, made several improvements there, but the plan is, like Mr. Deal said, he does my job for me well. We marketed the property for 2 years and just haven't had anything stick on it for the business use, and with the residential office zoning, it allows the potential for residential use, whether it's single family, 2-family, townhomes, or apartments. And if we did residential, it would be market rate, subsidized by us, so no government subsidies or anything like that, so it would just be market rate housing.
but to be clear, you don't have any present development
No.
plans for the property?
No,
If
sir.
after the rezoning, you would be trying to sell it first?
No,
Oh, just,
I mean, we're actively building in the town of Pulaski right now.
no, I understand, but you said something about marketing, so I was just trying to
No.
understand.
We had it for sale as the property sits,
Okay,
and we just had nobody.
so your plan now is to develop it in some way,
Yes, sir.
but you don't have a current plan in
No,
any
sir.
way?
No, sir.
Okay.
Let me make a
But
comment.
I hear you say that if you develop it as housing, it would not be subsidized housing.
No, it would be
Which
just
I
market
think
rate
was
housing.
this young lady's
That
concern.
we have small children and,
Just be market rate
Yeah.
for sale
Let
housing.
me question. Anything that Shaw does or Mr. Hagan does, I guarantee is top of the line. To ease your questions, if you'll go up on 16th Street, there are some townhouses up there before, let's say before Shaw bought them, was not probably somewhere I would go. If you go up there and look at them now, and the house is built behind him, you can see they don't shortcut or half-step anything. I'll promise you that. I'm very proud to have them to build in the town. I have every bit of confidence in it. They could build in front of my house, I wouldn't have a bit of problem with it. So.
Yeah, we're currently building on 7th Street, Wilson, finished on Smith, 5th Avenue, near the ballpark, we're building a home there. Everything's been, I think around the 240 to 280 range.
We go back, we in our town, we so need good housing. I would agree with you. We don't no more subsidize. There's time and place for everything. But in order to get good businesses, you gotta have quality living too.
And to address your questions earlier, at this point, I didn't want to spend $30,000-$40,000 in engineering without their approvals to do it, so.
Okay, and so, well, Ms. Cullors had a chance, just to clarify for you, Ms. Cullors, when they do submit a site plan, there will be another opportunity,
Okay.
there will be a public hearing
and that's fine.
on what it is, and we can make sure that we have, I mean, I think we'll check to see that there's address and all that stuff.
I mean, I really do want to know if we actually receive that, cause, I mean, we don't have it, so.
I have always strived to do my best to do my job, which is of course send the proper notification.
And that's fine.
And I will go back through my records and double check, but I am 99.99% confident that I did not include you guys in the mailing as I sent out all the letters to the other property owners that did successfully receive them. So I don't know if there was an issue with the post office, or if I made the mistake, then, that could be an issue on my side, and, we'd have to.
We also have published an advertisement of the public hearing both at the planning commission level, which was last month, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then a public hearing notice for this meeting, and Mr. Mayor, I think the town attorney has something he wants to add, to, the understanding.
Yeah, also as a matter of clarification, isn't it true that Shaw Development was the one that actually cleared the site of the old building that was running down as it was.
And part of it's at the ballpark.
Brady, would all of them been sent certified?
Yes.
So would there be I mean, it should return to,
Well, certified's different than return receipt. You know, we
I
get,
put return receipt on it.
yeah, so you would get it back. So we'll make sure, we'll check into it and see, and just be sure before, no, I've got your address. So never mind.
But let's also clarify when there are specific plans for the property, regardless of which direction they take, there would not be a public hearing. Those plans would be available for review to the public in the office, but we wouldn't advertise a public hearing or hold a hearing on the actual design itself, whichever way they decide.
unless there was a special exception being sought, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
sorry, I misspoke then. Thank you for
Yeah, we still would have the plans, but there's no additional public hearing because a special exception is what is here for you tonight.
I think what you were worried about was being very, very low end or something, but I don't think that, I really don't, but.
I mean, no, our neighbor across the street, she's the one that has known us for a while and, had brought it to us last night, because she asked if we were coming tonight, and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. She has her concerns too, and that she, I think has been texting you.
She came by, stopped by yesterday, and we talked in person.
Okay, I mean, and she was
Yep.
told that they were selling the land, so it's just a lot of confusion, it seems like, and that's, we just wanted to,
Right, okay.
kind of get an idea of what was going on before we get some crazy neighbors next door.
Yeah, I think
We're all a little crazy.
You may get crazy neighbors next door,
Yeah.
but without any rezoning.
Yeah, you may still be.
We can't take responsibility for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, ma'am, I will definitely look into that mailing, and of course sincerely apologize. It is never our intent to not be forthcoming, as we have attempted to publicly advertise due to our responsibility, of course.
And there should have been two advertising, right?
Yep.
Rating
Yep.
one for the planning commission and one for tonight.
And also, with that being said, just the way it is zoned, if you would like to look at our zoning ordinance, it's under the B2 General Business District section, and you can find the zoning ordinance online, and would just show you the variety of uses that are currently permitted on the property by right, without them having to come here. They could do a variety of commercial uses there that would, of course, definitely change it being vacant and then being used. It would definitely change your feel about it, I'm sure. But you could review those B2, and then you could review the uses in the RO, which is also, of course, in the zoning ordinance residential office, to get an idea of what uses they would have available. The RO actually reduces the commercial uses that they would have available by right. So it actually reduces that impact commercially, but commercially, it just expands the residential side. But thank you so much for your concern and being here, and interested as a resident. We appreciate it.
Brady, why don't you get her address from the mayor and just make her copies?
Yep.
And either deliver them or put them in the mail to her so she has those sections. Not everybody has access or familiarity with our website, so it might be helpful.
Do you get mail at your home address?
We do,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Do you own the home there? Okay.
Okay. With that, are there any other comments in the public setting?
You're talking about Fifth Street, there's the Trinity Lutheran Church, and then there's the Blue House. The Blue House just got renovated on that street, and that's what the people were looking for, was an older home to renovate. So if they bought the property and then put something different, it's gonna really change that whole street.
We're
So-
talking about, it's the one right there at the point, at the right.
Yeah. I'm saying, Blue House is being renovated right now. And it looks good too. And I know there's a lot of properties, Shaw is building the houses right there in the county, and I'm probably the only one who agrees with this, but we do need subsidized housing. And now, till we don't have the businesses, once somebody gets a job, they're gonna need a place to live. So we gotta look at both sides of it, of what you want first. So probably jobs.
Any other public comments? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Does council have any other questions now after the public hearing? Okay. If not, do you want to make a motion? Do you want to make?
I'd like to make a motion, we accept orders 2021-27, orders rezoning property at 421 North Washington Avenue from B2 General Business to R Hero Residential Office.
Second.
May I have a roll call for that, please, ma'am?
Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Aye.
Mr. Clance?
Abstain.
And Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Our next public hearing is ordinance 2021-28, special exception for catering, daycare center, bakery, and museum at 1 Corbin Harmon Drive. If I could get the staff report, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The town of Pulaski has received a request for a special exception from the Calfee Community and Cultural Center, agent Joe Williams, for catering, a bakery, a daycare center, and a museum. This project is pretty well known to the community. It is the adaptive reuse of the Calfee School. It has recently been zoned appropriately to accommodate these uses, and now that they have access to these uses by special exception, they are applying for that special exception use authorization for those 4 uses. Again, bakery, catering, daycare center, and museum. The community will, this community center will focus on commemorating local civil rights and social justice heroes that are less well known. It'll of course provide much needed daycare services to the community, and then it will host in the commercial kitchen a space that could be rented by the hour or by the day to serve individuals that are local bakers or caterers that are trying to do any food related business or food related operations but don't have that space. If you guys have any questions for me at this time, I'd be glad to answer.
Council, do you have any questions for the staff?
I do have one quick question. I see that it says bakeries, catering, daycare center, museum. So I understand catering from the perspective of a commercial kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
But as bakeries, does that include, or is that somehow different than catering? Because I'm just curious, does that mean that they would be available, that special exception would include like retail kind of businesses?
So we included that use authorization.
I'm just curious about that.
Just in case there was ever someone that, at some point, as you're leasing out the space by the hour, by the day, or by a certain limited time, if someone wanted to have customers come by there to access that type of, sort of as a bakery retail, not really where you're.
More like a pop-up than like
Right.
a full-time.
It was included to
Okay.
provide that use authorization for potential growth, if that was ever to happen.
I was just trying to understand
As a
this.
small
Just thinking about the last convert about switching to RO, what that would involve, would that allow for like retail food service?
What this would not permit is, fast food, drive-through, or sit-down, Applebee's style, it would not permit any of that type of use. This is more so for the use of the commercial kitchen, the use of the property of having bigger trucks and vehicles dropping by more larger commercial grade food supplies, stuff like that. And then if there was any retail, it would be more in the line of what you would see in a bakery or a deli where people could
Counter service kind of thing.
Counter service, yes sir.
No, just checking. Thank you.
Any other questions before we open the public hearing? Okay, with that, I'd like to open the public hearing for ordinance 2021-28. Is there anyone here that would like to, has a concern or comment?
Is there asbestos in that building?
Asbestos? Ma'am, I'm not sure of the asbestos inspection in that property. If there is any asbestos in the property during the adaptive reuse, that would be remediated by the organization.
If there's no other comments, I will close the public hearing. council have any other questions now for staff? If not, make a motion.
I move we adopt ordinance 2021-28 as written.
Second. And may I have a roll call for that, please?
Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Aye.
Mr. Pond?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Abstain.
And then we'll, the one we added in, we'll do ordinance 2021-29, ordinance amending chapter 34, community development of the town of Pulaski, Virginia, Code of Ordinances. Do I have a staff report that you can give us?
All right, Ms. Gray, I was adding that at the very end of the agenda, but you've got it.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, so we pulled that resolution forward, provided the council a copy of the proposed ordinance, and basically, we have identified very recently that this chapter, or section is significantly out of date. It was last, updated in 1996, and obviously, the incentives that are available today and should be available are very different than they were 25 years ago. We no longer have an industrial development authority, which is in that section as well. And it references a director of community development as the administrator of the program, and we don't have that position any longer, so we are asking in this resolution to delete the section as it relates to the Industrial Development Authority, to delete those provisions in the enterprise zone with the understanding we'll be back at your next meeting with some new recommendations that are more modern and up to date, and then it does suggest the change to zoning, or the administrator of the enterprise zone being position that Brady Deal currently holds, which is economic development and planning manager for the town.
Which means we don't need to do a public hearing with that anyway.
Yes, sir.
So I don't, okay, yeah, put it in place.
No public hearing is required.
Alright, so,
Halfway, well, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt ordinance 2021-29, ordinance amending chapter 34, community development of the town of Pulaski, Virginia Code of Ordinances as written.
Second.
and may I have a roll call for that, please, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Aye.
Mr. Pond?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
So now we'll move on to the public comment period. I have one speaker slip here. It would be Mr. Mark LeBlanc. If you would like to come up.
Sure.
Good evening. Basically, I've got three matters to bring to the town's attention, or at least issues that have come to my attention, and I wanted to share them with you. I've lived here for a number of years, and I know that image is a very important thing to the town. We're trying to portray this town as a good place to live, or a good place to move to if you're, say, retiring. It's a thriving community and a caring community. The thing that concerns me is, through perhaps carelessness, I don't know, the image that we are actually portraying is a little bit different. And I will give you three examples or two. First of all, the planters at the courthouse. Lots of people come to this courthouse. Well, a lot of them are required to come to the courthouse. But what do they see when they get here? There are planters that used to look very, very nice. I don't know what happened to the one right by Washington Avenue and 3rd Street. It looks like a truck just mowed it down. I've talked with Kim Caudell about this. She's been very nice in explaining what the problem is, and apparently the problem is we don't know whether this is a town issue or a county issue. And I'm okay with
with wrangling through that. But the problem is the image that is portrayed. It's just, we don't care. It looks terrible, but, and that's not what we're trying to portray when we have visitors and people thinking about making Pulaski their home. So I would ask that something be done. The second thing is very similarly related to the first problem, and that is people. We used to have trash cans. When I first moved here, there were trash cans everywhere. You hardly ever saw trash on the ground. Can you say that now? Every place there's a high walking, a velocity of people walking, there's just trash. I've got in front of my office, and my office is right next to the courthouse, people will drop beer, not beer cans, Coke cans, their masks, COVID masks, anything. There's a dirty diaper in one of those near, in the parking lot. I live in the southeast side of town. People walking from Fast Shop, they eat their food and they just drop it. I've got to pick up, I'm supposed to mow down by the road, but before I do that, I have to go through it and look for broken glass, look for cans. Folks, if we could, have I run out of time?
I'm not trying to.
I won't.
Mr. Penn may be done.
Oh, okay. But, and that is the issue, you know, if we could find a way to get, you know, wherever there are a lot of people walking, there's gonna be a lot of litter. If we could put trash cans out there for people to use them. They may not initially. Old habits die hard, but at least they're there. And we can get that idea of using them. Thirdly, and thank you very much for your patience. Well, again, the image of the town. Every time I drive by and there's a huge parcel of property, a very tall building. I don't know who used to own it, but it is still owned by them. It's got all the fencing around it. You know, APCO owns it, okay. Are you all familiar with the game pickleball? It is a game. It's played by kids, it's played by young adults, it's played by old folks like me. It's a great game. Every time I go down to South Florida to visit family down there, they've got pickleball courts all over the place. They're packed. People are always using them. Rather than, I don't know what it would take to turn that eyesore out there, that fenced in area, into pickleball courts. Pavement, a little bit of paint, nets, lights. That's it. There's businesses all around, McDonald's, Wendy's, all of these businesses are around that I'm sure would love to have people come and play, and it would be a magnet. So, I don't know the feasibility of that. I don't know what the legal ramifications. I do not know whether there are chemical issues of the past. However, if we could put enough layers of concrete, we may be able to deal away these issues. But those are the three things that I wanted to bring to the town's attention. It is just image. It really is. What image do we want people to have when they come to visit this town? And most of it is good, but the bad, it's just real easy to take care of and resolve. Thank you very much.
May I answer him on a few of those?
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to tell him where we are with the
Yes,
parking.
that was where I was going to.
With the
Parking lot that you referred
oh,
to,
okay.
at the intersection of Third Street and, Washington is in fact owned by the county,
Okay. And
not by
Kim
the
did say
town.
that.
I have, seen the very conditions that you've mentioned. I have spoken to the county administrator, and with the council's permission, I have offered to take over that lot so that the town can maintain it and improve its image. We don't have the document, yet, that causes that transfer, but it is in the works. So you will see an improvement there as soon as the town takes over. There are some commitments for some parking spaces already in the lot, and we've got to determine those before we can take it over, but that certainly is planned. As it relates relates to trash cans, we can certainly look, there are a number of trash cans, but, I don't know if we have enough, but we can certainly look at those areas. We also are looking at some other streetscape amenities in the downtown, because I would agree with you wholeheartedly, you know, about the image. And lastly, I just wanna mention that we've had a discussion about pickleball. We know it is popular.
Pete, did you say tickle or pickle? You did say, I just got ears, I'm
That's all
sorry.
right. I didn't know what pickleball was till somebody said it one time, and then I wasn't sure that they were saying it right either, okay? But we are looking at the possibility of taking one of our tennis courts, that is not being used on any kind of regular basis and converting it to a pickleball court. That particular facility, and pavement will have to be repaired. And in the case of the property that you mentioned on East Main, it would take a significant amount of remediation before we could use it. We've just gone through that remediation process on a site that's on First Street, and have put a new surface on that will soon be a skateboard park.
Yes.
And a basketball court. But we spent several $100,000 of federal money digging out a certain amount of soil before we could, in fact, encapsulate it with the concrete. There are significant environmental issues with the site that you mentioned.
And I have been made aware of that. The only response that I would have is such a visual.
I would agree.
Smack in the middle of what we call Pulaski. And if we can't do anything now, we can perhaps think in the future.
Well, the company that owns it's not interested in,
And that is another problem that I've got with some of the, it's, yes.
but all of your items are absolutely on target, and we will work on those that we have the ability to manage at the present time. Thank you for your time.
And I might add that any meeting that I'm with her or anything we see the county administrator, she's on him with that parking lot.
I have no doubt.
We are
I really
all
don't.
about that. We want that parking lot.
But and I would not be here but for the fact that that's
Yeah.
like almost
It's
4 months
exciting.
down the road and nothing has changed,
Yeah.
so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Noel.
I will say, make one comment, to Mr. LeBlanc's point. I do think, and I don't think anybody in here disagrees, I think policing the area is certainly important. And I don't know, Mr. LeBlanc, you may realize Sandra Hilliard, that owned Town Center Apartments, and recently, in recent months sold them. She maintained that entire area.
Yes, she did.
And so I think that's a noticeable change. I think we see the difference. I live at the other end of Third Street, so I'd see her out trimming and picking up trash and constantly. So just one person made a huge difference, and so I think that's something that I think we need to look at. If it's just a few, a couple times a week, somebody wanders around the downtown area and picks up trash. I think it's important. I certainly think that any volunteer activities, I know that there's groups out there looking, New River Community College, for instance, with their ACE program. I assume they're still looking for, they have to do so much community service. I think all those things need to be in play, but I agree 100%. It's one of our biggest, I think you can turn off a person. It's what they see in the first few minutes of being in an area, first few seconds even, and if they see trash and blowing around, and I've seen a lot of that myself recently, you may never get them back, and I think that's a great point, and I appreciate you sharing that with us.
I do think that since the pandemic, there are a lot of people who used to pick up that are now reluctant to do so. And that has been a real challenge.
I'm one of those.
Yeah, no, seriously, people who would in the past pick up just routinely if they saw something, or, kind of taking a second look and deciding, and do they have, and in some places, they have, dispensers that are there for dog excrement, and maybe we need to think about if there are kind of, ways that we could put out, gloves or something, so people wanting to perform that kind of activity. But on an organized basis, we obviously could, because we could provide that. But for the average citizen that's walking down the street, I think since the pandemic, there has been a significant.
And that's a good point.
Alright, I have no other slips, so we will move on to the consent agenda. If you would look at your November 17th, 2021 council work session minutes, and then someone would make a motion to adopt it.
I move we adopt November 17th, 2021 council work session minutes as written.
The only correction I might make is they do say November 16th council work session minutes on our document, so whatever, I don't remember the date particularly, but it's gotta be one or the other.
I think we're in the right month.
16th would be the right, so I think would be. The document was right.
But on the minutes themselves.
Yeah, we just, for the motion, it should just say November 16th, 2021 minutes. Sorry.
Was there a second?
Second.
Alright, and then may I have a roll call for that, please?
Yes, sir.
You can do a voice vote if you want on the
Oh,
minutes.
okay, so in that case, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Thank you. Alright, and then we'll move on to resolution 2021-53, policy waiver on penalty of interest on tax sale properties.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, the town, after a recent tax sale by the county, was approached by a couple of individuals who had in fact purchased property at the tax sale, but were interested in the case of one of having the taxes waived, and in the case of the second one, asking for the penalty and interest to be waived on the sale. And after consideration of those requests and the implications, the council's direction was to prepare a resolution that would consider the waiving of those costs when the properties were improved. Because we would see that as promoting property development and property maintenance, and therefore the policy which is attached directs that those costs be paid initially, both the purchase of the property for delinquent tax sales, the delinquent tax sales themselves, as well as penalty and interest. And then the council would or has authorized us to reimburse those costs up to $1,000 if improvements are made to the purchased property within 2 years of the purchase date, and that there are no code violations during that 2-year period, and that in no case will we reimburse if the individual does not keep their property taxes on their current. And so that's the policy that you have before you that we ask for your approval of.
So just to be clear, the reimbursement has to happen at least 2 years after the acquisition date?
Yes.
Okay, so if somebody acquired property at least 2 years ago, they could potentially, I'm just trying to figure out practically for our citizens, when and how they would make that application.
Well, if they paid the penalty and interest,
Okay.
after 2 years from the date of purchase, we would evaluate to determine if the property had been improved in
Okay.
any way. Also look at whether or not there had been code violations, and ensure that the property taxes were current. And at that point, we would reimburse upon the request of the individual. And there may be individuals who aren't necessarily interested in the reimbursement.
Right.
But this particular policy came up when we had 2 individuals at the recent tax sale, and actually I think they were encouraged by the county to come to the town because it was a county tax sale, and the county in its process evidently eliminated all of those just with whatever that purchase price was, but that was not the arrangement for the town.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, if someone would like to make a motion.
I move that we adopt resolution 2021-53 as written.
Second.
And may I have a roll call for that, please, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Aye.
Mr. Pons?
Aye.
Mr. Reeves?
Aye.
Resolution 2021-54, appointment of Jeffrey Worrell as a representative to the PFRWTA board.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 2021-54, appointing Jeffrey Worrell as representative to the PFR WTA board.
Second.
And may I have a roll call for that one, please, ma'am?
Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Aye.
Mr. Pons?
Aye.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Aye.
I skipped you, I'm sorry, Mr. Reeves. How could I forget?
Did everybody vote?
I don't think we all voted. I thought I heard Reese, and then you might have
It
said
sounded like you
Reese.
said Reese for him, and then it kinda, everybody got thrown off.
Yeah, I think you got the
Maybe
Jimmy, but I
recall.
don't think you got the Tyler and I, so. Do you mind?
How
All
about
right,
start
let's go
voting?
again. Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. East?
You did say east.
I know I did. Mr. Radcliffe?
Aye.
Mr. Clont?
Aye.
Mr. Reeves?
Aye.
Sorry. You all are working me too hard.
All right.
Aye.
Now, we will move on to council comments. Mr. Penn, do you have any comments?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have anything.
All right, Mr. East?
I would just have two comments. I would like to Ms. Birch and the staff sprucing up the lights in the park. Really looks good, which is super. And then I'd like to comment. I found these cards on my desk. I guess Captain Hudson left them. These are the coolest things I've ever seen.
I know,
So,
that's cool.
yeah, and I noticed Mr. Regas sponsored this card. Can I get a little? What's the idea behind these cards? I think for everybody out there, it's actually our Juno, the K9 officer, almost like collector cards. You got a bubble gum.
They're
packs
baseball
and-
cards
yeah.
in the
Yeah, they're cool.
21st century, so they're round dogs.
Okay. So I mean, but I was curious. Is this something we're doing as a right? I see a couple different sponsors, Mr. Regas
Yes.
being one of them.
And they are being given out to children, as they visit with them, and part of what we're trying to do is to both make the community aware of the fact that we have the canine, but also the positive uses of the canine. And the idea, for these cards came from our new community relations crime prevention kind of specialist that you met several meetings ago. And there has been a opportunity on several occasions for some publicity and marketing of Juno. Will say that there was a little blurb that I happened to see on Facebook from a local television station that indicated we would soon be having a second dog, and that's not the case. So if you read that at 5:30 this morning, I said something to the chief about that, because that's the first I've heard about it. And that was kind of a futuristic kind of comment, that we hoped in the future perhaps have a second dog. But I think we reported to you in the weekly report that Juno is completing her training and will be doing some additional training in the springtime. And this is just a marketing tool to hopefully have the community better understand the purpose of the dog and its friendliness, so that people begin to understand that the police are not something to be feared, but rather something that can be helpful.
I think it's a great promotion. I really like it. You think we'll have other police officers vying to be on the card? Yeah.
We may, I've suggested that we need to have a calendar, but
That would work.
for fire and police.
I may not participate in
That-
purchasing.
It didn't get a lot of support.
That's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Radcliffe?
I just wanna, take the time to wish the staff have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and in a very bad year, what a great job they have done. eyes of everything. So please pass on to your staff and to the citizens of town of Pulaski for being very patient. It's been a very difficult year. But I think brighter things for Mr. Blanc is pickleball quarters in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Kloss.
I would like to see what we can do to reference in the building that Mr. LeBlanc referenced. I know that I had talked about it several years ago, and I know that it's privately owned property, but I think it would be nice to look into seeing what can be done to almost force them to either rehab or to acquire it for us to look at the possibilities of rehabbing it. From what I understand, they have it on their books as a significant value, and I think that it's time to start pushing that. That's all.
Mr. Reese.
I just wanted to also, like Mr. Reese, compliment the town employees on the lights out at the park. It's been very nice. Been out there with the family. It's been quite lovely. Also, wanted to see if there's been any update on the sewage treatment and I haven't heard any complaints, and I don't know if Mr. Penn has about smells coming off of there, but if it has been improved, I just want to make sure that that's happened, or just trying to get a status on that.
Well, they did, as I think I reported to you all last time, they did a 5-day experiment which did seem to reduce the odor, and weather seems to have a significant part of the activity. Mr. Pedigo told me just this afternoon that James Hardy it wants to try another, I'll call it chemical just because I don't understand all of the technical jargon, but it will be cinnamon smell, and they're going to be installing it at James Hardy's expense around our pre-treatment plant to see if that doesn't mitigate even further the smell.
So it's some sort of addition to the actual treatment facility.
Yeah, and this is me describing it, so
Sure.
I'm not the science person. It's kind of like those things that you can purchase that give off a scent every so many hours, you know, that kind of refreshes the air, and it's gonna be something like that. In fact, Mr. Pedigo was out there with the electrician determining how they do it, because we're gonna put some temporary power in that will allow that to be activated, and we'll evaluate it before we put any kind of permanent fixture in that would be a continuous electrical source for it.
But have we had fewer complaints?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good.
And I think the cold weather
Sure, certainly.
contributes to some of
People
that.
are inside more, and
Yeah.
and it's probably less.
But I think it also keeps the smell down,
Okay.
whereas the heat tends to have a negative impact on it. But they are continuing to work on it. They know that it is a priority for the town.
And the other thing I wanted to ask about is, I know last time we were here, we talked about the lead and the additional testing and things like that, and I think we had discussed having some sort of public informational stuff on websites and Facebook, and if I may have missed it if it was put up, but if it hasn't, I know I've had a few conversations with people, and I think when people understand the details of it, it can be a lot more understandable, but, you know, anything that's like a minute and a half, I think would alleviate a lot of people's concerns.
Well, we did have David Payton, who was here at your last
Right.
meeting, do a Facebook interview.
Okay.
And I thought he did an outstanding job.
I must have missed it though.
Yeah,
so.
well, he did a very, very nice job. We did, as we said, at your last meeting, we did put the notice in all of the utility bills, and David has been fielding, you know, calls.
Yeah, I saw that too, and so I was just wondering, it might be worth pushing that out a few more times, because if I've missed it, you know, and other people probably did too, it might be nice to, you know, give people another chance
All right.
of those algorithms work. Thank you.
So can we change the scent seasonally?
I don't know when he told
I'm
me
thinking
cinnamon today,
apples
I
and
said, well,
cinnamon.
it's appropriate for this time of the year, what's it
Exactly.
gonna be come springtime, but.
Rose petals.
Yeah.
So mine more of a somber thing. I would like to give my wholehearted condolences to the Wingo family with the accident yesterday. and to all involved. Our police department was very well involved in all the first responders, and I just want to give them my condolences on that. That's all I have to say tonight. So we'll move on to your report. So the manager's report.
Couple of things that I want to mention. And do you have that chart put up? At the last council meeting, Mr. Reese, I believe, was the one that questioned the reservoir and the water level in the reservoir. And Nathan put together this chart that goes back to, I think it's 2012, is the
Yes, ma'am, it does.
on the far end.
Sorry,
And
it's hard to read.
and then comes current, so that you can see that the spillway, where you actually overtop the dam, is at 14 feet, which is at the top of the chart on the left. And it's hard to read, but I guess the point of the chart is to tell you we're not in a significant place as it relates to the height of the reservoir, given the time of the year. You can see if you look across that we actually, in about a half a dozen years, we're closer to the spillway, but most of the time our current height, which is being checked regularly, is doing well for the time of the year. And we are getting ready to go into what would be considered a rainy, snowy period that certainly would help. But I just want the council to know and the public to know that we are regularly monitoring that and are in no danger at this time for any type of restrictions.
Great, thank you.
Secondly, I wanted to respond to the concern, which was a very significant one by several of you at the last meeting regarding the several large trash piles that were on Washington Avenue. I spent about 45 minutes talking with the head of the PSA about the matter the day after the council meeting, and was given what I thought was a pretty complicated arrangement for those kinds of pickups. Basically, what I was told is that if the individual has more than a standard collection, which those two cases on Washington Avenue clearly were, that they will not pick up those trash loads unless the owner of the property comes to the Public Service Authority office in Dublin and fills out paperwork where they agree to pay for the rental of a roll-off. The roll-off is then delivered. The owner is required to fill the roll-off with the trash and then request it be hauled away, and then they're billed subsequently for whatever the tonnage is at the landfill. These are cases that Carla, as our code enforcement officer, had been working on for some time, even given to the PSA the owner's name and address, so for billing purposes, but they required that the owners, and some of these owners are absentee, go to the PSA. We have an awful lot of rental property in the town, and I personally find it unsatisfactory that we have to wait weeks and rely upon someone to go to the PSA to fill out forms. I think a much better solution is one that we had in the past here, and that was where we had a truck that went around and picked these things up as a town function and then billed property owner the same way we billed under other code enforcement items. And so I will tell you now that in this upcoming budget, I hope to be able to accommodate the additional equipment that would be needed for us to no longer have to rely upon the PSA for that type of collection and expense, but rather be able to do our standard code enforcement, pick it up and then bill the individual, and then if they don't pay the bill, then obviously we will place a lien on the property the same way we do with tall grass and outdoor storage and other kinds of things. We'll say that we did get, the owner to come finally and do some of that, but you all saw and the community saw, and going back to Mr. LeBonc's comments, that was not a good impression of the town, and yet it was something that was beyond our control. So don't be when you see, that as a recommendation in the upcoming budget.
Ms. Bertram, we collect the PSA's, payments.
Fee, yes.
Yeah, and do we keep any of that for
There's
the
a small,
overhead?
there's a small percentage, that is paid, or we don't remit back to them, but I've also in that 45-minute conversation suggested to the head of PSA that we needed to get out of the business of collecting, for them. They claim that that's, the only way they can collect because they don't have the billing, information, because they don't have the water customers that we have in town. They,
So they can't get a spreadsheet of our
well,
customers?
I've told them there's a way to do it, and I've suggested a couple of, other communities that they ought to visit or talk to, about the way they collect. But that would also be one of my goals, that we would work toward elimination of collecting that, because whatever we get as a percentage in no way repays us for the, time that we spend explaining to people that we don't collect their garbage, we don't know their holidays, you know, we can't make any arrangements or accommodations, and yet the bill goes up, and as you all know, it went up, $2 a month, as of July, and there's no real public notification of that. I did have, placed on the town's Facebook page a notification that we placed there on their behalf, so that people knew about that, but because they're a different arm, a different entity, they don't have the same, public requirements that we have for notification, so it is of concern, both in terms of the cleanliness and the appearance of the community, but in, the function that we carry and the number of complaints that we receive, as a result of having that on our bill. And people don't make the distinction between how much is on the bill for garbage collection versus water and sewer.
Yeah,
It's
cause
just their
I
water
think it's
bill.
gone up since I started paying it from $15 to $21, which
Yes.
is nearly a 50% increase. Which
It's
is,
a significant amount for garbage collection generally, in my opinion, having seen what it costs in some other
One question, if we continue, I pick up what he says, we continue getting the headaches and the complaints, PSA, and then blame it to the water, look, the water's the cheapest thing on there.
Yes, it is.
And that's true, then what we probably should do, if we continue to have a meeting with our Massey district, Mr. John Travis, and, you know, if it's not gonna be taken care of through the proper channels, then he's our representative, he lives in the town is in his district, and we'll let him have it. And if it continues on, that's what we'll need to do.
Well, I wanted to bring back to you all because you did express a concern, and I did follow up with Mr.
Appreciate it.
I'm just curious, I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
You know, I've just mentioned Mr. Lincoln.
I'm just curious, I don't wanna get in the weeds, but you may have said it, what's the trigger to pick up? Would they have to contact, in the instance of this gentleman on Washington Avenue, if he were to have called the town, I mean, if we had this, when we get it in place, would he call the town and then we come out and pick it up, or how does?
Well, it would happen
Still developing.
one of two ways. They could either call if the way the PSA works is they evidently will one time a year go to an address and pick up what is beyond their normal trash. But if it's a big pile, they won't until they get this roll-off, activity started.
The one time is a free,
One time, Rick,
one time pickup is free.
is free, yes, sir. But it's a small, what I call a small pickup.
Right.
As opposed to the situations that we have where maybe a tenant moves out and the landlord puts all the stuff on the street. And that's what happened in the case of the two, situations on Washington. If someone called us, and we had this system, which we don't currently, but we evidently had in the past, then we would go out, pick it up, but tell the person we're gonna bill them in the same way, but hopefully at lesser cost than the roll-off. Or if Carla in her code enforcement work, identifies somebody who's put out stuff and notifies them that they have to remove it within so many days and they don't, then she would get that word to Public Works and they would go collect it in the same billing kind of process.
So significantly shorten that time.
Yes, sir. And, you know, to some extent, the devil's in the details, so we're not here yet, but having seen the problem, having heard the process that people have to go through, I think the better way to clean up our town is for us to become responsible for that and deal with that way.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple more things. I've been writing them down all week. Want to mention that the brush site that we have off of East Main really is getting minimal use, and yet we've been staffing it every Saturday for a long time. I suggested that they monitor what was going on there, and as a result, we have already instructed, but I want to make sure that people are aware of the fact that that brush site will only be open the first Saturday of each month beginning in January, and will be open from 7 to 3:30. Also want to mention to the council that the employee luncheon is this Friday at the train station, and we will have the service award recognition the afternoon of your second meeting in January, which is January the 18th. I think both the council and the employees really appreciated the opportunity to come to a brief session with you all to receive that recognition. So that's when we will be doing that. I did mention to the council at your last meeting that I would recommend that you cancel the January meeting of January the 4th, and I would appreciate a motion to that effect from the council so that we can make the proper notice to the public. And we will have the town offices closed per the holiday schedule as issued by the governor. We will be closed on the 23rd and 24th of December and on the 31st of December, given when Christmas and New Year's fall this year in the calendar. And I think that's all that I have.
So we need a motion to
Cancel the
January 4th, 2022 council meeting, which I think is a normal, regular meeting.
Yes.
Is it
Yeah,
no?
that was a motion.
May I have a roll call on that one, please?
Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Radley?
Aye.
Mr. Klum?
Aye.
Mr. Reese?
Aye.
Did I do it right that time?
You did. Got all five of us.
Appreciate that. Just a reminder, our future council meeting is December 21st, 2021, council work session. Closed session starts at 5:30, public session at 7. And as I have nothing else on the agenda, I call this meeting adjourned.